The sky didn't just mourn, it grieved, as if it too had lost a son. Rain fell in thick, endless waves over the hillside cemetery where dozens of people stood in solemn silence, shrouded in black. Thunder rumbled far in the distance, echoing like a broken heart. A polished mahogany coffin rested atop a lowering frame, draped in the American flag. On either side, military honor guards stood stiff and straight despite the storm. In the front row sat Elizabeth Rayner, mother of Sergeant Mark Rayner. Her eyes were red, but no longer weeping. She had cried every tear she had. Her hands clutched the folded flag as though it held the warmth of her son's final embrace. Behind her were Mark's childhood friends, members of the rescue team, and fellow soldiers from the 112th Division Search and Rescue. And then there was Titan. The German shepherd, coal-black with streaks of tan, sat motionless beside Officer Harris, Mark's close friend and fellow K9 handler. Titan wore his black harness with Mark's name stitched across the side. His ears were upright, his gaze fixed, his body vibrating with a tension no one could quite understand. Everyone assumed he was mourning. They were wrong. If you believe in the power of loyalty, second chances, or animal miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Pawsitive Tales. Your support brings these true stories to life. 3 days earlier, Mark Rayner had been declared dead during a massive landslide rescue operation. The mission had turned into a catastrophe when, without warning, part of the mountain gave way. Dozens of people were buried beneath the rubble. The clock was ticking. Rescuers worked around the clock. Bodies began to surface. And then they found it, a body clad in Mark's uniform, with his dog tags, half buried beneath collapsed steel and broken trees. The face was unrecognizable, mangled by blunt trauma. It was assumed to be Mark. No one questioned it. The rescue site was chaotic. The temperature was falling. The coroner signed the death report that evening. A body bag was sealed. The family was notified. But something felt wrong. Not to the people. To the dog. Titan was brought back to the station with Mark's scent still on his tongue. He searched every corner of the building. Barked at Mark's locker. Slept by the station door. For 2 days, he refused to eat. Officer Harris tried everything, steak, his favorite toy, even Mark's old t-shirt. Titan took the shirt, curled around it, and wouldn't move. When the funeral was arranged, Elizabeth requested that Titan be there. He was Mark's partner. His soul. He deserves to say goodbye. That goodbye never came. As the final words were being spoken by the chaplain, Titan stood. His body stiffened. Then he growled. Quietly at first. Harris looked down, thinking the dog was confused. But the growl grew louder. Titan's eyes fixed on the coffin. Then the barking started, loud, sharp, insistent. The soldiers flinched. Mourners gasped. Harris yanked the leash, but Titan resisted. Then, in one explosive movement, Titan lunged, pulling Harris down. He ran to the coffin and jumped, placing both front paws on the polished lid. And he howled. Not in mourning. But in warning. The chaplain raised a hand, halting the guards. Titan scratched the casket again and again. Something inside him was screaming that Mark was not gone. Mark's mother stepped forward, her voice trembling. Open it. Please. Just, open it. A tense silence fell. 2 soldiers stepped forward, exchanged hesitant glances, then unlatched the casket lid. It creaked open slowly. Inside was a man whose face was bruised and pale, but whose chest moved. Gasps erupted. The mortician dropped his clipboard. The chaplain stumbled back. Mark's fingers twitched. A weak breath escaped his lips. He was alive. The chaos that followed was like a dream. Medics rushed forward. Elizabeth screamed and collapsed to her knees, overcome by sobs. Titan tried to leap into the coffin, licking Mark's hand, whining with relief. Sirens wailed as an ambulance was called. The funeral had become a miracle. Inside the hospital, doctors confirmed what many found hard to believe, Mark had been in a hypothermic coma, buried beneath debris in a collapsed shelter with just enough air. His vitals were so faint that he had been misdiagnosed as dead. The trauma team that initially found the body had acted fast, but too fast. They identified him using uniform and tags without DNA or facial match. It was an error that nearly cost him his life. And only Titan had sensed the truth. Over the next few weeks, Mark was kept in ICU. He drifted in and out of consciousness. Broken ribs. A shattered ankle. Mild brain trauma. Frostbite. He was a shadow of the man he used to be. But Titan never left his side. Hospital rules were bent. A bed was brought into Mark's room. Titan slept there every night. The bond between them grew deeper with every passing day. Nurses noticed that Mark's vitals improved whenever Titan was nearby. His breathing calmed. His heartbeat steadied. On the 12th day, Mark woke up fully. The first thing he saw was Titan's nose pressed against his cheek. Tears streamed from his eyes. His cracked lips formed the words, "You found me." Recovery was long. Mark had to relearn how to walk, speak clearly, and rebuild his strength. He suffered night terrors, flashes of the landslide, the darkness, the pain, the cold. But Titan was always there. When Mark cried in the middle of the night, Titan pressed his head into his chest. When Mark tried to stand, Titan steadied him with his body. The hospital called it unofficial therapy. Mark called it love in its purest form. One day, while watching Titan sleep, Mark said to his therapist, if they had lowered that casket into the ground, I wouldn't be here. No one believed in me. But he did. 6 months later, Mark stood at a podium at a national search and rescue convention. He shared his story to a crowd of thousands: officers, medics, volunteers, and trainers. He ended with this. Sometimes, the heart of a dog can hear what we cannot. Sometimes, what looks like the end is not the end. And sometimes, miracles wear paws. The crowd gave a standing ovation. Titan sat beside him, tail wagging. In the years that followed, Mark created the Titan Foundation, a non-profit to train K-9 units for disaster detection and support their mental and physical well-being. He also advocated for reform in post-disaster victim identification, urging greater care before declaring deaths. The movement was slow but powerful. Titan became a national hero. He was awarded medals, featured in news shows, and even had a children's book written about him titled Titan Didn't Say Goodbye. But none of it mattered to him. All he wanted was to be with Mark. And that, he was. Until the very end. 5 years later, Titan passed away peacefully at Mark's home. He was buried under an old oak tree in the backyard, with a plaque that read, "The dog who refused to let me go." Mark visits him every morning. Sometimes with tears. Sometimes with laughter. But always with love. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to Pawsitive Tales for more real stories of devotion, courage, and second chances. Before you go, comment below, do you believe animals can feel what we can't? Has a pet ever saved you, or someone you love? Share your story with us. We read every word.